freaking go! Let's go! Let's go! That's right! On to the World Cup final with a 10-0 perfect record in this year's tournament, this World Cup tournament. Team India has so far played near perfect, if you think about it, record-wise at least, and has defeated New Zealand and is moving on to the final this Sunday or Saturday night, wherever you're at. I can't believe it. I am so excited for this team because I've been rooting for Team India ever since I got into cricket, thanks to the wonderful viewers, subscribers from Boring Reviews initially. And then following this team and watching heartbreak after heartbreak after heartbreak, 2 World Test Championship finals lost. Previous World Cup didn't work out. T20 World Cups didn't work out. Asia Cup until this year, which again is not as big, didn't work out. I mean, so much disappointment. And they've won every match in the tournament. They won this knockout stage match, which I was really nervous about because you went 9-0. You're playing against New Zealand, who you beat the first time, but New Zealand is there. They've struggled the second half of this tournament, but they are still a really strong squad. I was afraid of the collapse. You're at home. You have all the pressure in the world, not to mention all the love in the world as well. But the fans there, they understand what I'm talking about as far as heartbreak after heartbreak. For them, most of it goes back even farther, obviously, than it goes back for me. But India played New Zealand, and they outright beat them. Scored 397, near 400 runs, and they bowled out New Zealand for, I think, 327 or some nonsense. It's just absolutely incredible. This match started at 12:30 a.m. my time. I was already asleep for a few hours. I got to wake up early. I have to actually wake up earlier than usual because we're dog sitting right now. Got to take that dog out for a walk before I get to work and get ready. So I wasn't going to stay up and get no sleep as I go to work and watch this whole match. But I was lucky. God blessed me by waking me up at around 2 o'clock in the morning. And while I was up for an hour, I watched this match. And Kohli was batting. Gill was batting. Gill gets retired hurt, even though on the scorecard, I think it still says not out. Yep, not out. But he was retired hurt. I didn't even know because I didn't watch the very end of their innings. I fell back to sleep. Did he go back in and finish for a few runs? I think he was at 76 runs or something like that. So he must have came back in. But he was basically limping his way up the stairs with the help of one of the assistants, one of their physio guys. Kohli, he wasn't scoring at a high strike rate. Shreyas Iyer comes in, and he gets a 6 here. He gets a boundary there. He's supporting Kohli as Kohli's starting to increase that strike rate. And Shreyas Iyer and Kohli just have this glorious partnership. Kohli ends with another century, his 50th century, so his half century of centuries. I believe that's even more than the god of cricket himself, Sachin, so that's a huge deal. Shreyas Iyer gets a century. I think this is his second one now in the tournament. 105 for 70 with a strike rate of 150. I mean, you really can't ask for too much. Rohit got things started off early on. Rohit got things started off by saying, we're going to bat, baby, for crying out loud, in Mumbai. And my experience with watching the Mumbai Indians is you can score some runs there at Wankhede. I'm not sure how to say it. You can score some runs there. Even to where it was 397 and people say, hey, hold on. This ain't over yet. New Zealand can put those kind of runs up as well. But for me, from the part of the match I watched, and I also watched when India was bowling as I'm getting ready for work for about an hour, hour and a half too. From what I watched, for me, there was 2 huge turning points. One, Shami Gill gets retired hurt. At that point, they were like near 200 runs and 1 wicket or something like that. And Kohli's able to hold down the fort as Shreyas Iyer gets established. Shreyas Iyer gets established and is able to further things on. And then even KL Rahul, vice captain. I never understand why this guy is given so much leadership, but he really, really showed in this match and the previous matches. You read articles that are talking about how he's on top of everyone's defensive placement for every single ball, for crying out loud. Go over here, come in. He's really taking the bull by the horns. But the turning point was Kohli and Shreyas Iyer and establishing that partnership, letting them work through the kinks. There was a few overs of like 3 runs, 4 runs, 6 runs or whatever before they were really starting to cook things up. And they were able to weather that storm of Loki Ferguson. Southey, he got himself, what? Did he get 3 of the 4 wickets? Yeah, he got 3 of the 4 wickets. They were able to weather the storm of Bolt for the most part. These great all world-class bowlers, they were able to handle that and create and establish those partnerships and get India to 397. That was turning point number 1. Turning point number 2 was on the bowling side. I wake up and I'm excited to see what the score is. And at that point, it was something like 190 for 1 loss. Almost similar to when I woke up in the middle of the night. India they only had the 1 wicket too. Anyways, New Zealand was doing well. Williamson, Daryl Mitchell, very, very established partnership. I'm not even sure how much they got, but I think they got like the top 5 all-time partnerships against India, if I'm not mistaken. So they really, really did some things. At the end of the day, you got, not Conway, Daryl Mitchell with 134 and King Williamson with a 69. But there was a point where they were both like in the 60s and 980 or something like that. And India is struggling to get wickets after they got Conway's wicket. And Ravindra's wicket. They're struggling to get more wickets. They had 2 wickets. That's what it was. 2 wickets. And Shami comes in. And I believe the biggest turning point in the match, because he got 7 wickets altogether, was when he got 2 in 1 over. That just kind of changed everything. New Zealand made another little push in the late 30 overs before the early 40 overs and the later ones when India just shut the door, where they were starting to score some runs more and more. And it wasn't just Shami, but he was able to get some later wickets too to account for those 7. But those 2 wickets that he got, in whatever over that was, where he was able to clamp things down, he was either somewhere in the later 20s, early 30s overs. That was a huge turning point. That, I believe, gave India a whole lot of confidence because the bowlers are doing their best, but they weren't as sharp as they want to be. They weren't able to get those wickets where they wanted. The partnership was being established. It was tough. Shami comes in, gets the huge wicket of Williamson. I believe it was a sky catch. Fantastic. And then he was just plumb LBW against Latham after, what was it, 2 balls? What did he see? 2 balls, LBW, plumb. And before that partnership can get started, he was able to just put the clamps on those 2 batters. And then it took New Zealand 5, 6, 7 overs before they can rebound that and feel comfortable enough to start scoring some runs again. It was a huge turning point. At that point, they were at a run rate of like 6.5, needed 8.5 or 9. And then before you know it, once they had to get things established, they were looking at a required run rate of 12, 13, 15, and it was just out of reach. It was such an interesting match because India batted not like their typical, from what I've seen, choking selves in the big moments. They were able to overcome that, but then the bowling wasn't there, and you kind of see this from India. Like, let's just get that full big-time match, full performance, and they had a fantastic performance. New Zealand gave it all they had. New Zealand's a great side, all that kind of stuff, but it started off like, oh, here we go. New Zealand's going to chase this. This is going to be absolutely horrendous. This is going to be horrible, but India was able to come through. Shami was able to come through. The defenders were able to come through. Rohit was able to hold his drive and his focus, and this is what we're going to do, and this is how we're going to go about it. And it was all awesome. King Kohli, for crying out loud. King Kohli is back and better than ever. How many centuries is this for this? I got to look it up because I did not look this up beforehand. It's got to be something like at least 3 in this tournament alone. Let's go to the most hundreds. Yeah, he's got 3 centuries. De Kock still at the top with 4. And Ravindra, he had 3 as well in this tournament. They were able to shut him down. He didn't do too much bad. I think he got in like the teens or something like that. But Kohli came up huge. There was certain 6s in that whole turning point part where they were starting to establish that partnership, him and Shreyas Iyer. Absolutely balls to the wall 6. Huge cover drives before that where it almost looked like it wore him out. But the biggest thing with Kohli, not the 6s, not the 4s, I think this game actually had 36s, which was one of the top 5 of all time in the World Cup, if I'm not mistaken. Also kind of crazy. The thing about Kohli was his running between the wickets. If you're a fan of King Kohli, if you're a fan of cricket, if you know anything about cricket, you know he's very, very good at running between the wickets, especially to the partner that he trusts. He was pushing the needle. They said it was super hot out there. Guys were cramping up. They were getting exhausted. They were taking extra water breaks. They were taking sit-down breaks. But he was just running like it was 70 degrees outside, perfect weather. It was nice to see that. stealing an extra run here and there. And no, it didn't ultimately win them the match, but that hustle, I believe, kind of, whatever, he got inspiration from his captain, or he has been there so many times he was not going to be denied. It was absolutely beautiful. I wanted to come on here, make a quick video, gloat a little bit, share some of the things that I loved from the match, parts of the match I did watch. Rest of it I followed without, people not knowing I was following it, besides when I was asleep. It was a beautiful match. I was afraid that this was their trap match. Now they go on to the final. And it's very hard to win a World Cup final. I'm hoping they do. I'm not going to make any silly predictions. I have no idea who they're going to face. I fear it's going to be Australia, but I think it might be South Africa. But Australia just has a way of getting to the big dance time and time again. One thing I thought was interesting was as they're on their 10-game winning streak, World Cup winning streak, I didn't realize Australia has a record with 25. Can you imagine that? That means they must have gone through 2 back-to-back World Cups. I think it was 03 and 07, back-to-back, didn't lose a game. That's extremely impressive. I think it was 1999 to 2011 or some crazy situation. 12 years of dominance. Hats off to Australia. I think India wouldn't mind facing them, but as a fan, let's face South Africa. Even though they're a seriously stout squad, let's face South Africa. If I can use that word, I know I'm not on the team, but I've been following these guys, heartbroken so many times. I want to see them pull. And a World Cup, ODI World Cup, the granddaddy of them all, that would be oh so sweet. I'm super excited. I have all the hope in the world. I'm also super nervous. So how can I have all the hope in the world if I'm nervous? I don't know. I am. Those are my thoughts. Let me know what your thoughts are. Please do me a huge favor. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Thank you so much for sticking around on this channel and waiting for new videos. And until next time, adios.